What's up, YouTube? Southern Comic Geek coming to you with another huge comic book haul. Before we get started and talk about all these cool books that I got yesterday, why don't you go ahead and smash that like button and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. I don't know why you wouldn't have already done that unless you just randomly come in here. But other than that, either way, we like you and we're glad you're here. But if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. And if you're interested in knowing when videos like this drop ever so randomly, be sure to hit the bell notification so that you will be one of the people that can make a conscious decision as whether or not to watch this content. Because I do a lot of random hauls, not hauls that are random, but posting of those hauls. Okay, how about that? So how huge is it? It's huge. It's amazing. It's never been bigger. Okay. All right. And so what's going on, Ruben Guzman? Cowabunga? Yeah. So see, kind of fitting for what I got yesterday. So got a bunch of books in the mail, and but I also was able to make it to some comic shops for New Comic Book Day, as well as a comic shop that I typically frequent when I go to Shreveport, Louisiana, called Excalibur Comics. They also have a location in Texarkana. I don't know if it's on the Texas side or the Arkansas side, but they do have a second location. I've never been to it. Hello, Warlord. How are you? And so if they have a larger selection of new books, which is probably when I go more and more interested in. They have a lot more of the B covers or variants and that type of thing than what my local comic shop does have. They're typically kind of pricey on most of the stuff that I'm looking for. But when asked, they will give a discount. So the selection is there, which is good. And so I said, well, hey, I need to check out and see, because I'm working on the Mirage run of TMNT. So I wanted to see if maybe I could get lucky and land a bunch of books, and I did. So that's what a lot of these books that I'm going to show today are: the early Mirage TMNT, the volume 1 stuff, all the way to, I think, issue 50 is the latest issue that I got. And so there we go. So let's check her out. So the first one that I got on the top of the pile is this one. This is TMNT number 35 from March of 91. Not sure who is doing the covers on this one, because that does not look like Eastman or Laird. Then we've got TMNT 36. Issue 37. So I just went to the bin that had the TMNT in it and just started pulling them out. Missing this one, missing this one, missing this one. Issue 43. And these are all in issue 44. These are all in, some are down to maybe 80, 85-ish, but most of them are in the mid 9s, 9 to a 9.4. So then we got issue 45. So I was really happy with not only the price. I think they were averaging $5-6 a pop. So that's not terribly bad, especially considering the shape that they're in. And for anybody that collects TMNT, that Mirage series, obviously the early issues are really pricey. The last issues are pricey. But, to me, and, if anybody sees anything different on the live side, certainly post it. Or if you're watching this on the rewind, put it down in the comments below. But to me, it's that series of TMNT you just don't see out in the wild. You might see one issue if you're lucky, or 2 issues. Certainly some of the bigger early books, the pricey books, they'll be on the back wall. But just the random issues, I just don't see them enough. So when you get a little treasure trove like this, you dive in. So then we got issue 47. Oh, Raphael. Is that Raphael? No, Leonardo. The red bandana threw me. And for those who might not know, the Turtles originally did not have the colored bandanas. Then we got issue 50. So that's the later issue that I got. It goes to 62 or 63. And so just picked up a couple from Houdat. He threw an auction up, nobody bid on, that had that shattered TMNT 1 variant. I already had it, so I DM'd him and said, hey, man, if you don't sell that, let me know because I'm interested in some of those books. And so we worked out a deal, and he sent them to me yesterday or the day before. I haven't got them yet, though. This is book 31, so going back to that little painted look. Then we got issue 24. Then we got issue 26. Okay, Titus, thank you for joining from the land of the rising sun. Then we've got issue 15. This is kind of a neat looking issue. They made it to look like it's old, made it to look like it's got tape up here at the top, and looked like it had a tear down here at the bottom, but it doesn't really. Then we got book 19. Book 13. Book 12. And book 10. 10. That's where Shredder returns, or they find out that Shredder did not die as they thought he did in the first issue. And he returns with the foot soldiers. So let's see how many I've got left to get on the TMNT run. So I have got 42. There are 62. So I've got 20 to get. I've got issue 1, issue 4, issue 6, and 7. And it's funny because an issue 5 came up on IG, and I happened to notice it. And I said, I don't think I've got issue 5. And I bebopped over to my CLZ app. And then by the time I got back, somebody had claimed it 20 seconds ago. Yeah. But so yeah, those first couple ones. And what I think I'm going to do, I think I'm actually going to collect the random prints, because especially on them early ones, they didn't really do a lot of second and third prints in the middle to upper part of the series. I guess they figured out where their fan base was or how many comics they needed to print to sell them all. What's going on, Schwab for Comics? How are you doing? And Pokane Joe. Awkward sip of coffee. But so I think I'm going to get those. So in that case, there'll be more than just 62 or more than 20 that I still need, because I don't have any of the second prints and that type of thing. So, okay, cool. Then I also picked up from that same shop Batman 379. So I was originally going to get a few more Batman, but then when I see Batman all the time. And so you just don't see, at least again, I don't see the TMNT Volume 1 all the time. So decided to go for that instead of the random Batman. So now I have 379 to 713, which is the final issue of Volume 1 of Batman. And so I'm trying to work my way from 379 up. I've got a lot before that, but I just don't have them all sequential like that. So fighting the Mad Hatter. Also picked up this and the Prelude, which is in a graphic novel. How many of you are reading Firepower? It's got a lot of Iron Fist vibes to it, but it's a pretty neat little series. So far, so good. And, I never got on Robert Kirkman train for Walking Dead. I still collect Oblivion Song every issue, which is pretty good. And there was another issue that he just started that I thought about getting into, but decided to pick it up and got the free comic book day and issue 1, which are the same, by the way. So if you got the free comic book day, save your money. But got issue 2. Issue 3 came out. I'm going to have to find it because it wasn't at either shop, any of the 3 shops that I went to day before yesterday. and but I did get the preview graphic novel. Also picked up Giant Size X-Men Phantom X. Kind of questioned whether or not to pick it up, but was in a shop. It's a little shop. I said, hey, this guy always does me some deals. Let me help him out a little bit. So I picked it up because it was the B cover that I liked better. The art inside is kind of wonky, but it's kind of leading up into how Storm figures into it. And there's kind of speculation as that Storm is going to be Storm is going to be one of the people that has one of the swords, one of the 10 swords. So we'll see. Nightwing 74. So this came out this week. Dickie Boy, Rick, whatever you want to call him. What's going on, Natty? How are you doing? He has finally got his memories back. He's finally Dick Grayson. Finally, they got rid of all that garbage, Rick Grayson, all that other kind of stuff. And hopefully it is all behind us and it's just a bad memory. It didn't really make sense how it wrapped up, and the Joker War tie-ins don't really tie in that well. Just slightly can. Kind of like, okay, they're third cousins, so they're kin, but you know, who counts, right? But glad to see that. I've been getting all the Joker War tie-ins, and so been pretty good. Then we got Something is Killing the Children. This was one that I got on late too. Picked up the first graphic novel and decided to pick up the singles from there. Man, this is one that I look forward to picking up every month. It is definitely a cool read. If you have a weak stomach, you might not want to read this one. It's a pretty gruesome scene. This came out Wednesday, so this is a non-spoiler. This is a non-spoiler free zone. A kid gets torn in half, and so it's pretty cool. Not that a kid gets torn in half, you know, but it's really, you know, escalating up, you know, and kind of they're dropping more information about the order that they are in and all the stuff that goes on with that. Comic Mag Musings. Hello, sir. How are you? Got X-Force number 12. This is probably, well, it is my main X title, aside from Wolverine. My favorite X title. The most action goes on in this. Art's okay. And so I really like the X-Force title and how they are doing that. You can see the cracks have already started to widen in Krakoa, that the paradise is fixing to be lost. Beast and Colossus and some of these people are all turning on each other, and so it's not going to be too long, obviously, leading up 10 of Swords. So it looks to me as if 10 of Swords is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back, and Krakoa is going to be a thing of the past at that point. Oblivion Song number 27. So this is another Kirkman goodie, and that I pick up every month, and it's pretty good. And so if you haven't picked it up, I encourage you to either get it on Comixology or pick up the graphic novels to catch up. So, you know, he goes into Oblivion, he gets stuck there, and then that's where these last few issues pick up. And these are where the last few issues picked up, and so it's a pretty good storyline. As at the end of the book, the major alien from from Oblivion shows up on Earth. So you know the crap's about to hit the fan. So it should be getting even better. Death Metal Trinity Crisis. So this is another one that DC has caught me in all the various tie-ins to. This is actually the first one that they. I like Capullo's art better than I like this one, but the story was pretty good. They're actually doing something now and facing off and starting to get something done, because the other ones were just kind of slow burns. And picked this up. This is one of those free comic book months. We Are Humanoids. Did not like the story at all. Not going to pick it up. Astonishing X-Men 17. This is an Alex Ross variant. And so you only need a handful, I think 5 left of that Astonishing X-Men run, have them all. Red Hood and the Outlaws, number 4. This is from the New 52 run on Red Hood. Picked it up out of the dollar bin, so couldn't pass that one up. And you knew I had to have some Valiant love in there somewhere, so pick these up out of the dollar bin. Archer and Armstrong, number 14. Number 15. Wolverine 147. A little fight between the two Death Angels. And Wolverine 132. Another dollar bin find. Then we got D for Deceased. And so I gotten this last week. This is a pretty good read, by the way, if anybody hasn't been picking up on this. But I like to collect the movie homages. And my comic shop had held one for me that was not a movie homage, but when they hold one for me and then they're out, it's like, okay, I'll get it. So I had done read it. But the other smaller comic shop that I visit when I go through Monroe, Louisiana, I stopped and picked this up from them. I also picked up from them this Batman Adventures number 2. Got all excited when I saw it on the shelf. So I said, man, this is starting to be a pricey book already. And then that's when I noticed second print. So it doesn't say it on the front, but if you see that last number right there and it's a 2, that means it's a second print. And so this is the second print. So I got the Batman Adventures Continues number 1 out of the Walmart pack. So if you haven't watched my Walmart comic book reveal and you're interested in getting those Walmart packs, check that video out because I talk about how DC puts up the same books and everything, so you don't have to get a whole bunch of doubles looking for something new. Marvel does not do that. But there's a Batman Adventures number 1 first print that they put in those deals if you're interested in getting that book on the cheap. Like to pick up these True Believers, and so this is of the comics that I've got, and I like to show off. And this is the 25th anniversaries, 260 something, but it's a 25th anniversary cover of X-Men. Then we got Wolverine number 139. 139. Turok 22, another dollar bin find. Ninjak number 18. Valiant has finally released that they are going to do another Ninjak or Ninja K, depending on when you pick this up. And so with Ninjak, I'm not sure what to think about this new stuff. Valiant is squandering their opportunity for sure. We're going at Ninjak number 19. Because Valiant only dates back to the early 90s. And then when they went silent for a number of years, they lost out on, half a generation, right? So they come back, they're vibrant again. Everybody knows who they are. Now they got sold, and now all they're interested in doing is selling movies. So they're not as interested in the comic book properties. So the thing that they forget is, unlike Marvel and DC, who have had years and decades of gathering fans of these said characters, and so there's some buy-in to these characters from years gone by, and even parents and grandparents have read these books. I mean, think about Batman, been around for 80 years. So you could have grandparents or even great-grandparents that read the same books that you're reading. And Valiant don't have that. So you've got to get those people attached. How you get them attached? Get them in the comics. Sell the comics, sell the merch. Then you can get them in the movie house, but whatever. They didn't call me and ask me my opinion. Ninjak number 17. Sue and Tai Chen, the free comic book day. Ninjak number 16. Then I picked up this free comic book day, Legend of Zelda, Twilight Princess, and it's done backwards, kind of like a anime, because it is anime. Right. But yeah, I always liked playing Zelda back in the day. Funny story about Zelda. So I, had all the, stuff because I was a nerd even back in the day, and it wasn't fashionable to be a nerd back when I was a kid. So I had a Legend of Zelda hat, and it had Link on the front of it, but the bigger word is Zelda. That's the way it's always been. Just like in this logo right here, you see Zelda, but that's not Zelda. That's Link. Anybody knows plays the game knows that. Well, I had this bully. at camp one year. And so he would see my hat and he said, "Hey, how's it going? Hey, Zelda." And I'm like, "Dude, do you not even realize that's Link on that hat?" You know, I'm not, who puts their name on their hat? Like a name badge. "Hi, my name is Jason." Nobody does that. But he kept doing that till finally, before camp was over with, I done had enough. Got on top of him and whooped him. Got in trouble by the camp counselors, but funny story about Zelda. So there you go. Then we got Magnus the Robot Fighter. This is from the Acclaim series. As I've said before, after Acclaim bought Valiant out. So Acclaim, if you think about it, Acclaim, or even going to a different deal, AOL Time Warner, were really just ahead of their time. So it wasn't that they had a bad idea. Maybe it was poorly executed, but it was timing was the issue. Because what do all these big companies today do? AT&T has all this IP, and they're more about selling all their brands, right? Disney does the same thing. These big brands up, and they're pushing the brands through various forms of media, right? So Acclaim's idea was, hey, if people like the comics, they read the comics, they also play video games. So then when they play the video games, they'll come over to us. And so that was their idea. The problem was timing. So this is at the end of the 90s, and so the market crash is happening. Then they went bankrupt. And so you know, a lot of times these companies load themselves up with a bunch of debt, and when bad times happen, they just don't have the reserves to carry on. So that's what happened with Acclaim. They bought Valiant out. And so at that time, Magnus the Robot Fighter, Turok, and Dr. Solar, or Solar Man of the Atom, were still licensed. They were not original properties to Valiant. They were licensed by Valiant, and since then they've changed hands a couple different times. They're Dark Horse, and now I think they're Dynamite. But so Valiant doesn't operate them anymore. They're not in the big giant connected universe. But so some of those volume 2s are kind of wonky, especially Ninjak, because you say Ninjak and the guy turns into a ninja, and it's like so far cry from the deal. But if you recall, Nintendo 64 had a Turok game. Shadow Man had a game. They did an Exo Manowar and Iron Man team up for, I think that was Nintendo 64 as well. And so they were utilizing those properties, but again, it was just timing was horrible and their reserves. So we got number 9 right here of that second series. Number 16. Number 10. And I got all these off of IG. So I bought some books from a seller, and he says, "Hey, I noticed that you get these Valiant books. Send me what you're looking for, and I'll comb through my stuff and see if you got it." So I did, and he found me some more stuff. So Magnus number 11, which is kind of an homage to the raising of the flag on Iwo Jima. Number 14. Then we got Batman Detective Comics. So at the new 52, they added the Batman above Detective Comics, and of course reset the numbers. This is during that time. So that's number 39. Number 35. Number 34. 33. Know what you're thinking, but no, this is issue 40. Then we've got number 935. They reset it and went back with the legacy numbering at Rebirth, and I didn't realize it at the time when I was sitting there claiming, but this is 935. It's the same issue. And I'd already claimed it, so I wasn't going to back out and say, "Oh, you know that one I claimed? I really have it. Can you take that claim off?" No, I mean, I'd already committed to it at that point, so I just got it. Then we got back to Magnus Robot Fighter. This is issue number 2. Number 8. This is issue 7, which the cover style is how the old Gold Key comics were back in the day with Solar and Turok. They had that kind of dark painted feel to it, and this is what they were kind of going for there. Thanks, CFAP. Then we got 6. issue 5. So I've got most of that run now. Then we got Turok 26, Turok 20, Turok 11, and Turok number 4. And then we got Rye number 8. Cool Clayton Crane cover there. Matt Kent and Clayton Crane killed it on this Rye series, in my humble opinion. Then we got Rye number 5. And Rye number 4, which is a Fruit Ninja. This time, Valiant did a lot of these little game covers. They had like some for Minecraft and various games. And this is kind of fitting, Fruit Ninja, you know, with Rye. So that's issue number 4. And then Rye number 2, which is the cutout poster face variant. It's funny about these because, you know, back if they did something kind of gimmicky with these things back in the day, a lot of those comics are worth a lot of money, because then people are like, man, these funny books or whatever they called them, they're not going to be worth any money. So they didn't care about cutting out Marvel value stamps and, you know, that type of thing out of their books. I can imagine that there was not very many kids that cut this Rye thing out and used it as a mask. I can imagine that there are quite a few of these out there that are still like this one and uncut, and the eyes are not poked out and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, and hence one of the reasons why those kind of comics like that are probably never going to be worth an awful lot of money, except to people like me who are weird and have, you know, 5 and 6 long boxes full of Valiant stuff, right? Who does that? The other day, I got it coming in, spoiler alert, but I got it coming in. I just happened to pop in on this IG sale, and I said, what's that book on that wall? It's a Archer and Armstrong Zero Gold edition, which Valiant did all the gold edition stuff back then. And it was signed by, or is signed by, both Bob Layton, which is not rare, but Barry Windsor Smith, which is rare, because I don't think that Barry actually does any signings anymore. And big fan of his artwork. Room, Marvel Comics Presents is the one that most people know. Early Conan is another thing Barry Windsor is definitely known for. And what's going on? Real cool looking. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Gorell. And Kay Titus says Wolverine's awesome. Yes. I'm working kind of, it's one of those soft collects for me. Wolverine is that first volume. I've got a good, you know, numerical run of it right now. Just need a handful of it. So as I've said before, there's certain things that I hard collect, and, you know, every time I see it and I need it, I'm going to pick it up. And there's others that I go, I need it, but it's not quite the right price. So although I try to get a good price on everything, there's just some things I'm willing to pay more for as a run. Now, people that collect keys only, they do the same thing. But those type of collectors probably would not pay what I do for some of my hard collect stuff, like that TMNT stuff. You know, most of that stuff was $6. There was a couple that were like 10. Certainly all the books were really worth it, but they probably wouldn't have picked it up because there were no keys. And to me, you know, if you're a key collector, knock yourself out. I use the Key Collector app just so I can, you know, have some knowledge on a book that I'm maybe not as familiar with. But I don't just buy comics just for the keys. I buy them to read them. So, you know, just like my X-Men or my Valiant stuff, if I was, you know, the X-Men run would not be near as big if I was only collecting keys. If that was the case, I'd collect the first 20 issues of Uncanny X-Men, and, you know, some are right around the John Byrne Claremont time when Kitty Pryde and Dazzler and all them were introduced, and Gambit, you know, in 266. Not a lot else outside of that. So what's going on, Beta Ray Jim? How are you doing today? Beta Ray, check out what I got the other day. You probably already seen it. I found this these at Walgreens. I already had one, and I picked one up. I posted this on IG and posted on IG because I picked up several on the cheap. Had somebody else in the community that was interested in getting one, and it told me, if you see one, pick it up for me. I'll pay you for it. And I did, but then they had 2 extra ones. I've already sold one of them, so I was just looking at selling that one because I've still got one up there on the deal. And so, yeah, I don't really collect pops either because that is just another rabbit hole to go down, and I really don't have the room. There's certain ones that, especially if they're like key, the pop really goes well with a cool cover, and that's what I mean by key. So I got like the Rogue. I'm still looking for the Gambit one, and still looking for the Gambit one. I got Cable because Cable is one of my favorite characters. Got a Wolverine signed by the guy who voiced Wolverine in the animated series. Got a Beta Ray because I like Beta Ray. Batman, the animated series, because I intended to get Kevin Conroy, and he was going to be at a con, and it got canceled because of Corona. Got a couple Power Rangers signed, but yeah, so that's why either I get them to get signed mainly. If there's like, yeah, no problemo, man. So Beta Ray, if you want that, I'll sell it to you for $5 plus shipping, and shipping's like $5. So, $10, we'll get it to your door if you're interested in that. I bought a Lando one with the intent to get him sign it. Again, the con got canceled. So yeah, that's the main thing that I get pops for, because I just don't have the room for them. Although there are a lot of cool pops. CFAP says he's got 3 pops and he won them all. Big Will, he's only got 1, and his was the same way. He won it. There's a couple that, again, if I had room, yeah, maybe so, but daggum, comics take up so much room, and pops take up even more room because I keep them in the box. I put them in protectors, and because I like the box to remain, the same. Some people take them out, and it doesn't matter. So whatever, everybody's got their thing. So everybody just kind of likes the same characters. But I've been trying to find some. I should have picked it up when I had the chance at Walgreens, and I didn't. But I'm looking for a Darth Revan to go with my Darth Malak. So I can put those on there together, and I'm sure I can find a good Star Wars comic to put behind it. And then I'm looking for the Gambit to go with my Rogue, because I'm going to do a wall with the Rogue and Gambit appearances, because there's a lot of cover appearances with them, not just the Mr. and Mrs. X that just came out not too long ago, but there were a lot of covers over the years with them. I've got the wedding issue, the secret variant that was in the poly bag, the X-Men Gold when they got married. I've got that one, and of course a lot of other ones over the time. Oh man, yeah. Well, I used to like playing Old Republic online, and that thing got too addictive. I had to cut that down. But yeah, Knights of the Old Republic, definitely a cool game from back in the day, and I like the sequels too. Oh well, yeah, Disney's gonna, or Lucasfilm / Disney will do it at one time or another, because it seems like the name of the one they just came out with that's got the kid with the orangest hair and who's a Jedi. When they start releasing the Old Republic / Republic, whatever they're calling it now, the High Republic, I think is what they're calling it now. When they start releasing that stuff with Darth Bane and Revan, because they kind of Easter egged Revan, because one of the commando troops was called something Revan. So it's not that they put his whole history and mythos in canon, but they definitely threw that out there. And so just like with Thrawn, they did kind of the same thing, and they just kind of retconned a lot of the stuff. Because for those of you who are like myself and actually read the novels before Disney decided to make them all just legends, Thrawn was the baddie in the early Star Wars books, and he was killed off by the third book. So versus now, he's still a thing. They've had 3 Thrawn novels. I've got them all, and he was a deal in the Rebels cartoon, and so I think that they're going to continue to use him in some form of fashion. They'll probably do the same thing with Revan, because to me, they tried to play on the old characters that everybody, not just the Star Wars fanatics, but everybody had the connection with, and they couldn't please nobody, right? Couldn't get the new people because they made the new people mad, or played to the old ones, or made the old ones mad and played to the new ones. But if you go back and say, okay, we already know about the main mythos. You got Jedi, you got Sith, you got lightsabers, you got the Force. Those basic things that people know, and then kind of go way back, you got a lot of room to play in. See, because if you go in the future, you've got to speak to the past in some form or another, and you start establishing timelines where you've got to try to maintain them, because they're wanting to keep everything canon and keep everything in order. But if you go back, you really don't have, especially if you go back far enough, you don't really have to do that as much, right? So you got a lot more room to play with, just my opinion. So Hidden Gem Comics, thanks, man. Let's see, got Wolverine 6, first appearance of Wolverine's daughter. Which one? You talking about Marvel Comics Presents? Oh, thanks, Hidden Gem. Yeah, talking about that, I've decided on that blank wall that I mentioned in that video, I'm going to get one of the glass cases like you might see behind Justin Birch in the Two Brothers Comics videos, and I'm going to put Key Comics in there with the toys in front of them. So I got Louis Romanelli. I'm going to butcher his name, but he did kill a lot. He did a sketch cover for me with Rodimus Prime opening up the matrix of leadership. And now, for all of you who are that age or older, you've got the touch. You've got the power. That song should go off in your head, right? And so anyways, so I'm going to put that behind that. And then I've got the first issue of Transformers. Then I'm going to get an Optimus to go in front of that. And we'll get some Marvel Legends, Wolverine and Hulk, to go in front of the Hulk 181. And just various things like that. Probably get the first He-Man. I've got He-Man #1, but I don't have the first He-Man in comics, which is where Superman and Skeletor are on the front cover. So probably get that one, or I might just go with the deal. Thanks, man. It wasn't as neat as yours. Mine's as eclectic as what my collecting is, but Beta Ray, I think, did a very similar thing, showing off his stuff, and yours is a lot neater and more methodical in the way you pick that stuff up. Oh, I got you. Yeah, so I'm collecting that series. I got a bunch of the #1s. Like I got 3 of the banana covers that are currently at CBCS, and so yeah, I've got that series. So New Kid, yeah. When Jason Aaron did Wolverine run, he made them like have 100 kids. One here and there is one thing, but daggum, come on, Wolverine. I guess you're that old. You've been around the block for a while, but that run where he actually killed all his kids because he didn't realize they were his kids and they were attacking him, and so he kind of killed them off. But the main kids being Laura Kinney, because I believe that they retcon her being a clone, and then basically her mom was artificially inseminated. So she's technically a biological kid of Wolverine. Then you got Dakin. Then that new girl that's in Marvel Comics Presents, she's got like magical claws. She'll probably pop up, pun intended, at some point or another. So those are the 3. Yeah, so and he's kind of been a fatherish figure to Jubilee and Kitty Pryde over the years. Just reached the Wolverine movie that he's. Oh, okay, yeah. That one was okay. Yeah. So then CFAT like Dakin. Yeah, I got first Dakin on the cover. And it's got the third claw. I got the third claw variant. It's at CBCS right now as well. Nobody knows the Transform Universal Greeting, and how dare you? Well, I was wondering what you were doing. I thought maybe you were speaking into your phone, and sometimes Siri just doesn't come up with the right language, or maybe that you accidentally auto corrected or something. I'm like, okay. So I was wondering what that was. So yeah, that's interesting. So I thought, no matter the cost, Autobots transform. I thought that was, kind of the deal, right? Because that's all the time you heard. So then went back to the timeline and started X-Men 2000 right after that. Yeah, Fox, look, they're like, hey, let's just put something out here, make us some money. And then they were making it up until the last couple. And so I don't think they were really worried about that. One shall stand and the other shall fall. And you got to think about, like Megatron, he's got the gun right on Prime, and, slow motion. Prime reaches down and puts his hands together and goes like that. It's like, dude, you had the gun on the dude. I mean, you see the hands going back, shoot him in the head, be done with it. Yeah, so whatever. And of course, Starscream throwing Megatron out. It was funny because they're like, okay, all the dead ones, we're going to throw them out. But then they lived in space, which are robots, so that makes sense. But they kind of went some back and forth between him and Unicron, and he was still alive. So it seems like he was quite still alive. Yeah, it looks pretty good. So I'm just kind of you seeing some of the cracks, and you see like Doug Locke. You found out, if you read Giant Size X-Men one with Nightcrawler, you found out that Warlock is actually still alive. It's not just some techno organic on Doug Locke. And so they're infecting. There's a couple of issues where you see him touch leaves and it infects them with the techno. So if you think back to Powers of 10, that's what happens. The techno organic takes over stuff. So we're seeing some of that stuff kind of start towards that end. And so I think that, okay, there's a lot of moving parts here. Is it Apocalypse that's going to essentially betray everybody in the name of the strongest survive? Is it the Phalanx that are going to come? Is it these people that are using the plant-based technology against them? Now you got the other Rasputin, Colossus's brother, that's in the mix and trying to betray the X-Men. So got a lot of stuff going on. And I hope that Marvel will draw me back in. My pocketbook doesn't say this, but I hope that Marvel will draw me back in with the X-Men, because I've started dropping several of the series. They're just not keeping my attention. And I know this is kind of the lull before the spike back up with the Ten of Swords. But I went to pick up Marauders, and because Marauders had actually started being a little better, and the one that came out this week, it's like, come on, man, really? So whatever. So yeah, X-Force, X-Men, got New Mutants last week, but then I was reminded why I had said I was going to drop it. I've not been getting Excalibur. I've got the first several issues, especially like the Rogue and Gambit special covers. But Excalibur, the writing just didn't do it for me. The only reason I was semi-interested was Rogue and Gambit. But as far as the writing wasn't doing it for me. And Wolverine's picked it up. Cable has kind of got me on the fence about dropping it. Return of Wolverine series going on. I bought the first couple issues, but the one was too good. Return of Wolverine series has ended. I think it issued 4, and so it was an okay deal, kind of explaining how did Wolverine come back to life type situation. How did they get him out of the adamantium? And so he breaks Persephone's hold on him at the end of the deal. And then, of course, they go into from there, he basically gets one of the Infinity Stones. That's right before the whole Infinity Warp deal. And then he comes back, and him and Cyclops team back up. They come back to life about the same time. And then Jonathan Hickman reset the button on the X-Men. So, but yeah, I got a lot of the covers for that one just because I'm a Wolverine fan. Yeah. Well, and I see your avatar, and so I take it that you're a Wolverine fan. I just sold my copy of that. Every time I get a copy of that, it goes somewhere else. So I had somebody in the community that did my intro bumper that I use on pre-recorded videos, and he didn't have one, and I had one that was signed by Peter David, and so I gave it to him. So I bought a newer one that was a newsstand, or newer one, a better looking one that was a newsstand, and of that same copy. And so I was on an auction one night, and somebody had all the other McFarlanes that they were selling. There seemed to be some interest in it. I said, well, let me go get it, and I put it up there, and I put a price up there, and somebody bought it. I was like, well, there goes that again. So one day I'll get one and keep it. But yeah, that one I wanted to get. I had that one that was signed by Peter David before, but I'd like to get Peter David and Todd McFarlane to both sign that. Yeah, because the story wasn't all that great. It was just kind of a throw-in story, throwback to Wolverine's origins, essentially, because that's where it all started at. And that was all it was. It was an in-between story, sell some books, because especially back in the day, in the late 80s, early 90s, you put Wolverine in something, it's selling. And so that Wolverine was in everything. And basically you got Wolverine burnout. At least I did, because it's like, okay, you're just putting him in here. It makes zero sense. How in the world is he in all these different places at one time? And it's like, this is just like, this is the suspension of disbelief. That's what you have to have. And it's like, there's just no way I can believe this. Right. So, Deadpool, much the same way. They found a new character, and then they, soaked it, ruined it till it was through with. And now in my mind, Deadpool is just like an overused character. So yes, Peter David is amazing, and he does not charge for his signatures, as you might know, and he does not charge for his signatures. I used to love the Hulk back in the day. Of course, the TV show with Lou Ferrigno, which I have a Hulk hand that's signed by Lou Ferrigno. But so used to be a big Hulk fan. So that run that Peter David did was just, during the time that I was really collecting comics back in the day. So he established that. I mean, Spider-Man 2099. X Factor. There's just so many, things he's had his hands in over the years, and he goes to shows and he doesn't even charge. But I will tell you this: he says, hey, if you want to put something in the bowl, that's fine. Almost everybody does, and so who comes out better? Him, because then people go, well, hey, at least he's not doing like these other guys and charging me $50 to $100 per deal. And I can, freely choose to give him money, and his jar cup runneth over every time I've seen him at a con. I've seen him 3-4 different times. And, he'll get to talking about his various things, like the, Multiple Man and Banshee's daughter, Siren, had a kid. And if you've heard me tell this story before, pretend you haven't, but for everybody else. So Peter David told me the story, how he got, she got pregnant. She was building up to this, and he's already built this up and built it out. And then Marvel comes to him and says, you can't do that because no mutants, there's no new mutants being born. because this was the time after No More Mutants, Scarlet Witch, House of M had happened, and this was before Hope Summers was born, or Messiah Complex, whatever that was. And so he's like, well, what do I do? So way he wrote the kid out of the story was the baby was born, and when Madrox picked the baby up, he absorbed him into himself like he does his other dupes or duplicates. And that was how he wrote him out. Of course, that's the point that him and Siren break up because she blames him for the death and all. And it's kind of sad, about as sad as like if the baby had died, essentially, but he didn't kill the baby, right? So, or the baby wasn't born dead. So he just brought him back into himself. And then that was kind of how that was ended. But yeah, so he did that X Factor run there. He'll sell his original scripts for various books that he's done. So definitely a cool guy to meet. And the interesting thing was that when I go to shows, he's usually not got a line, which is amazing to me. Of course, everybody is a key chaser, and they jump on the biggest bandwagon. A lot of times you go on these auctions, all you see for sale is Thor and Venom, Thor and Venom, Thor and Venom. Okay, great. But in 20 years, if Donny Cates's Thor still stands up to the test of time, let's put him up there with the greats. I mean, he's a great writer. Don't get me wrong. I loved his God Country, great. And I like his Thor. I ain't got into the Venom, but he's not been tested through the links of time like some of these other guys have, like Peter David and other writers, to be able to say, oh yeah, he's up there with one of the greats. I mean, he's not no Chris Claremont. 20, 40 years from now, tell me that he is. Okay, we'll see from there. But everybody's in those lines, like the Ryan Stegman, the Donny Cates lines. They're in those, and so you can just walk right up. It's funny because John Beatty or Mike Zack, people have done iconic drawings like Secret Wars 8 and the Punisher miniseries, and the Web of Spider-Man, where Spider-Man's coming out of the grave, Kraven's Last Hunt. These guys are iconic covers that have stood the test of time, and the demon. You are unaware of Dr. Von Schiller. Thanks for joining us, Dr. Von Schiller. Southern, anybody looking for an X-Men 266 first Gambit? CFAP, that is the second Gambit, right? And if you are selling one, hit me up on IG. I'll buy those because randomly I'll sell them. I used my extra one that I had to do the last giveaway that I did, CFAP. And yeah, people are looking for that book all the time. So depending on what you're wanting to sell it for, and if it's a newsstand versus a direct, just hit me up on the IG and let me know. Because that's one of those famous, funny. It's funny because now that Key Collector is referring to that as Gambit's second appearance. So I wonder if CGC will follow suit. Because the slab I've got a newsstand 9.4 of that, and it could probably be a 9.6 with a press and a clean. I thought about taking it out, and then I got a direct version that got signed by Claremont last month, the month before last, and it is at CBCS, getting graded right now. But I just gave away a newsstand version of that, but as we all know, Uncanny X-Men Annual 14 is the first appearance of Gambit. Maybe not the most sought after, but it's actually picked up a little steam as more people have leaned on it as the actual first appearance of Gambit. Everybody's got their collecting habits. It is the first cover. It's definitely the more Gambit-centric book. Absolutely nothing about Gambit if you pick up X-Men Annual 14, except now all of a sudden he's a member of the team. It's like, who is this guy? So, I get it. But I'm one of these guys that collects these weird things, like Foom #1 as the first Wolverine. Foom number is it 5 or 10 is the first new team of X-Men because it predated Giant Size X-Men #1. Now, on the Foom #1, it is an awesome Hulk cover done by Jim Steranko. But outside that, a kid, at that time it was a kid, sent in a drawing idea for a character who was able to have regenerative powers, who looks an awful lot like Herb Trimpe's rendition of Wolverine. And so it's said to be the first Wolverine. Of course, Marvel denies it. The kid, who's now an adult, stands behind it that, yeah, they stole my idea. At least the kid that came up with the black suit Spider-Man, at least Jim Shooter did send him a check. But on that one, he didn't get anything. So it's his phone. But hey, he gets seen, right? Let's see. Hit you up today. It looks like an 8.590. Okay, yeah, just hit me up on IG. We'll talk. Shark says, I think even if Q Collector says it's the second appearance of Gambit, it probably won't have a major impact. It's up to collectors at the end of the day, just like Hulk 181, but I could be wrong. No, you're right. It's what the market decides. Because free-thinking collectors, people that are not driven just solely by what CGC or Key Collector says or what Go Collect posts, whatever, people that just want it for the character, want it for the story, want it for the art, the memories, the nostalgia factor that it drives. It's whichever one, because like I said, my opinion, Boom 1 is actually Wolverine's first appearance, because I do typically count the magazine or ideas, kind of like Beta Ray is in Marvel Age versus the Thor. But that's just my opinion. Other people are like, no, it's first comic book appearance. That's fine. I mean, you don't have to agree with me. It's just my opinion. Same thing with I said earlier about the Foom with Giant Size X-Men #1, because it predated the new team. So Storm and Nightcrawler and Colossus, all those people that had the first appearances there, they were actually drawn by Cockrum in that book. There's a deal with Moon Knight, a deal with Blade that's like that. And so people that are really more focused on those specific characters, like that's their character or that's what they collected as a kid, then they care more about that stuff than what the average person does. If you're not a Wolverine fan, why are you going to drop $500+ for a Foom #1? Again, it's a cool Hulk drawn by Jim Steranko. But outside that, it's like, well, why? But if you're a Wolverine fan, you want to add it to it. And it's just one man's opinion. And the whole cameo as opposed to first full appearance, it'd be good if there was a clear, definitive agreement among the community, which there never will be, a consensus, if you will, as to what classifies as a cameo. If somebody's in the shadows, like similarly to Punchline's cameo, she's in the shadows. I don't even know if they even mention her name, but she says a few things, but they're not her. She's not a full page. She's not. So it's like the whole Amazing Spider-Man 299 deal. Venom's on the back of the last page. Hulk 180, Wolverine's on the last page, and his name is mentioned. So, yeah, again, it just really depends on what you're wanting to collect. If you're a Venom collector, you're all over that ASM 299 more than likely. You're all over the Marvel Age that has the black suit rendition in there, as opposed, and then you got you're going to have the Secret Wars #8. You're going to have the Amazing Spider-Man, whatever it is, the Amazing Fantasy 15 homage. And then you're also going to have the Marvel Team Up, which both came out at the same time. The Marvel Team Up with, I think it was Daredevil. It just depends on what your deal is. So I think it's kind of neat. It adds a little more flavor to just the comic deal. So I like to pick up the magazines or the Fooms, the Marvel Ages, the comic, what's the name of that? Comic something that the Moon Knight and the Blades were in. Just very different variations. Some Spawn collectors, what are they going to get? They're going to get that Malibu preview or whatever it's called, Malibu that did, and Spawn's on the cover. But if you're not a Spawn collector, Spawn 1's fine. There's a billion copies of it, But if you're a Spawn collector, you're like, hey, that Malibu Sun deal was not as widespread. People didn't keep it. They're like, man, this preview, throw it away. That's what I used to think about the Marvel Age. Back in the day, I used to get the Marvel Age if it was certain characters. But if it was other characters I wasn't interested in, I really didn't as much read the articles. But that was how we found out about stuff. You had the Marvel Universe, and you would tell about the various characters, especially because Marvel had a long history by the point that I came around to collecting comics. Also, there's one with Silk. I forgot the issues, but I do have the first full appearance. Yeah, you're right. So, and Silk's been picking up steam. And so then when collectors hear about it, and a lot of times these older issues, especially if they're a newer collector, they don't know about it. And so they're like, what? Wait a minute. So, and even me, who got out of collecting for a number of years, got rid of my old collection. And so I started over from scratch. We were on we being me and several other people were on a stream with Bub's Comics, and we start talking about Wolverine, and he throws out Foom 1. And I go, so it seems like I heard about this, but I had forgotten about it. And so I said, Foom 1. So I looked it up. I said, hey, went on eBay and bought it from my comic shop, and mycomicshop.com, which is out of Texas. And so picked up a high grade copy of Foom 1. Unfortunately, and it is slabbed. It's a 9.4, 9.6. But somebody had done the little crossword puzzles that are in there, so it's a green label, which I thought was kind of fitting since it's the Hulk. But if I ever get a chance, I'm going to get a Jim Steranko to sign it. Yeah, preview versus first appearance. So just it's all in how you collect. Some people collect pops, some people don't. Some people collect the action figures, some people collect the thing. It's just the whole deal around the character and the story and everything like that. Some people collect omnibuses. I thought about doing that just for space wise, and I go back and forth. I'll get graphic novels of some things, and some things I want the floppies of. It's just whatever floats your boat. Whatever floats your boat. Rob Boswell in the chat. What's going on with you, man? And yeah, the Foom covers were cool, man. There was the Hulk, of course, the X-Men. There's one other. I'm trying to remember what character that was in there, and there's a Vision is on the front cover of that Foom. I'm trying to remember which one it was. Now, probably the most expensive one out of the bunch is the one where they did the Stan Lee homage that has Stan Lee as Captain America, Thor, and these other characters. I've seen one on eBay, I think it was, that was signed by Stan Lee. So probably pretty rare on that, but that would be nice. Rob says he collects pocket lint. Now, we know that you might collect pocket lint, but you also collect a lot of comics. Now, the reason why you probably collect pocket lint is after you buy all those comics or get Clayton Crane to sign all your comics, then that's probably all you got left. It's pocket lint. Rob, how many comics did you get Clayton Crane to sign for you the other day? Because I know it was a bunch, unless you narrowed it down. And Bub said he got some, managed to get some off of you while y'all were up there hanging out. Awkward sip of coffee. Rob says he only ended up getting 8 signed. I think it was 13 or upwards of that. And look, I do the same thing. When I plan for a con, because one day they will come back. When I plan for a con, I pull out CLZ and I put in the artist's name. And so it tells me all the comics that I've got listed that have that artist in it. And I start going through the covers and everything, or the book itself and the writer's case, and say, man, yeah, I'd love to have that one signed. And so I start pulling them out. Then I kind of narrow it down, especially if it's a bigger con. Like when I went to GalaxyCon last year, I flew. And so I had to mail books back. So I went to a whole bunch of half price books and things before the con was that weekend. And so I mailed all those back through the post office. And so I carried only the books that I got signed and sketched and all that kind of stuff back with me. So I had to be cognizant of that. So there was a lot of them. I kind of narrowed it down. And then sometimes I just drop the artist altogether. So there might be an artist or a writer that's okay, but it's really not one of my top tier ones, just me personally. And so what I do, if I've got books that are by them, and I know that generally when you go to these cons, if you don't get them graded, most of these people are like $10 a sig, or they're even free for the first two, something like that. Well, I want to get one or two. They're there. I'll go ahead and get them to sign it, just because I like signed comics. But if it comes down to it, like it did in GalaxyCon, and I'll give you an example of it, is Jay Lee. I had some stuff by Jay Lee. There's some early Namor, the 90s Namor comics where him and Iron Fist are on there, probably 26, 27. There was some Spider-Man around that 20-somethings that Jay Lee did the covers for, that I was thinking about getting them signed, and they were in my stack to get signed. But after looking at all the other ones that were there, Greg Capullo and Peter David and Mike Zeck and Clayton Crane and Fabian Nacia, there's so many people there. I was like, okay, Jay, you're out. I mean, I like your stuff, but it's not that great, right? Yeah, they won't stop coming in. I'm trying to close things out, man. I'm trying to close things out. Yes. So that was one of the things that I collect. I have finally got a Muppet Babies, which is one of the rare, harder to find ones, just because those were Star Comics and the kids collected those, and nobody kept them up. But the only ones that I need now on those ones is the Peter Porker, Spectacular Spider-Ham, and then the Ewoks one. Those are the only two that I have left to need. I've got all the other ones. I managed to pick up a Muppet Babies and Care Bears already, so good to go. Well, fine then. All right, go ahead, be that way. No, I'm fixing to get off because JB's gone on, and so we'll. Yes, yeah, I picked up the Care Bear one a while back on the cheap, man. I got it for like $3. And so I was just on the right auction at the right time. So yeah, that was the deal there. But yeah, if you go on the Key Collector app, you can put in 20th anniversary frames, and they'll show you every one. I got the G.I. Joe ones and all that kind of stuff. So, but anyway, well, hey, JB's on Discovery Bay. Disco needs no introduction, obviously, but he's on. So I'm going to go ahead and jump off here. I do appreciate everybody that came by and listened to me rant a little bit and show off some comics. If you haven't already done so, before you leave, be sure to hit that like button and the subscribe button, or the bell notification if you want to know when videos like this that ever so randomly drop. I am going to be giving away a New Mutants 98 first appearance of Deadpool with a Deadpool metallic pop. So when we hit the 600 subscriber mark. In the meantime, you know that you have to be at least 18 years or older to enter to win, and you have to be subscribed to the channel in order to. So go ahead and get that subscription out of the way if you haven't already done so. You can't make yourself any older. But the details with that will be forthcoming, and share the channel out so we'll get to the 600 quicker, and maybe you'll have a chance to win that New Mutants 98. Yes, X-Force number 2, the second appearance of Deadpool. So we were talking about that, and here you go, get me on this rant again. We were talking about the second appearance. So that's the second comic appearance of Deadpool, but the Deadpool card that is in the X-Force 1 bag, which is one of the higher sought after ones, is actually the second appearance of Deadpool, right? So yes, so that's the second comic appearance of Deadpool. But some people consider the second appearance of Deadpool to be the X-Force 1 that has the Deadpool card in it. But yeah, just like what we were talking about earlier with the Foom and all that kind of stuff. So again, appreciate everybody for stopping by. Hopefully you'll get by your LCS if you haven't already done so this week, and pick up some good books. Check out Something's Killing the Children. Boom Studios is really killing it right now. And Firepower if you haven't already. Until next time, keep reading and keep